Welcome everyone, and many thanks for joining this second webinar of the ALDA Talks. My name is Eva Trentin and I am the membership officer of ALDA. Today we will discuss about environmental governance, main challenges and best practices. The topic will be introduced and discussed by the Municipality of Lousada, which was the winner in 2019 of the Transformative Action Award, organized by the Local Governments for Sustainability and the Committee of the Regions, by presenting the initiative Integrated Education for Sustainability. The presenter of this second webinar is Milene Matos. She is an expert in wildlife conservation, ecosystem restoration and environmental education. And she has more than 15 years experience in wildlife monitoring and assessing in ecology and research. Moreover, she is a certified trainer since 2005. And her work for nature conservation with social engagement has received several awards. At the end of the webinar, my colleague Lavinia Traina, ALDA's project developer officer, will present the EU funding programs related to environmental sustainability. Lavinia has been working as project development officer at ALDA for 1 year. And she's following the development of projects related to environment, agriculture, and sustainable mobility issues. She has also been working for 2 years as a project manager in a project of international cooperation, social assistance, and women's rights. And here you have the agenda of the webinar. It will explain the sustainable strategy designed in Lousada and how the strategies was implemented through local activities. Milene will also tackle the resources allocated and the benefits deriving from such a pioneering and yet needed green transformation. And afterwards, Lavinia will present the EU and non-EU funding programs related to the topic of environment and sustainability. And at the end of the webinar, we will give space to your questions.
Hello, everyone. I am Milene Matos. I'm talking from Lousada. I will start the presentation with a short video. I would like I hope you enjoyed the video. This video was shooted already 3 years ago in 2017 when we proclaimed the Municipal Year for Biodiversity and Nature Conservation. Each year, the municipality establishes a topic for the municipal year and engages in activities that promote that topic. For instance, this last year it was the education year. The year before was the children's year. This year, 2020, will be again an environmental topic, and in particular it will be on climate change. So action for climate change. Okay, so from the video, you got a general perspective of what we have been doing, and you could see music, theater, art crafts, books, people wearing t-shirts with animals or plants, also video mapping, plantations, and all sorts of activities related to nature. So in this presentation, I will explain in more detail what all of this means and how did it start, and how did Lousada achieve pioneering local governance for sustainability in such a level that it, as Eva said, it was this year distinguished as the transformative action of the year throughout all Europe. So this municipality locates in northern Portugal. It is a place that until we were known for the environmental work we were doing, no one in Portugal knew where this location is. It's a very small municipality in northern Portugal that is not known for any particular thing. Well, it wasn't. And now it's becoming pretty famous because of the local government's activities and the environmental activities and awards we have been receiving. So many attention is being received now, and we are still adjusting to that because previously no one knew where Lousada was. So it's a small municipality in the district of Porto. Porto is the second biggest city in Portugal, and Porto you must know for sure. So it has almost 100 square kilometer, and its characteristics are of a rural or peri-urban nature. So we are not a city, it's a small town, the village of Lousada, and the rest of the council is a peri-urban landscape, also featuring rural settings. But since we are close to Porto, about half an hour in car or by train, we have many inhabitants, and it's a very dense area, densely inhabited, with about 500 inhabitants per square kilometers, which poses challenges regarding the human pressure and the urbanization pressure on the territory. So how did all of this start, and how did Lousada become a reference in environmental action? This is still, as I told you, we are still adapting to this reality because it's new for us. It started in 2013 with the local elections. This councillor for the environment, who is named Manuel Nunes, was elected, and he was a former professor. He was a teacher on history subjects. I'm stressing this out because it's important, because he's an important character and he made all of this happen. One person changed everything. So by this time he was invited to become a city councillor for the environment, and he accepted. And immediately after they won the elections, he contacted the University of Aveiro, which is about 100 kilometers away, to start a partnership and to start drawing the environmental charter for the municipality. By that time, I was a researcher in biology and science communication at this university. So immediately I was engaged in this project, and I started defining the charter, that is to say, the environmental action to be done in Lousada. It is a damaged territory. The landscape is profoundly altered, so there is no pristine landscapes. Everything is human shaped. So it was quite a big challenge for a biologist to be invited to decide on how to create policies and actions to restore nature and to promote nature conservation in such a challenged area. So in 2014, we started with an action plan. We defined the monitoring schemes for all fauna and flora. So we wanted to know the territory in detail before taking action. So after knowing the territory, we promoted an action plan with priority areas of intervention. We decided on the strategic partnerships to do it, and also, of course, the financial mechanisms we would need to implement this. And this is very important because Lousada is not a rich municipality. This is very important because it is actually an example that many municipalities can follow, because it is not a rich municipality. It's just a question of balancing our budget and shifting some priorities towards the environment. So after 2015 or 16, we are now in the phase of getting results, achievements of this strategic plan that was implemented, and all those actions that you saw in the video resulted from that. Also, we started engaging the community, as you saw in the images, and that is a really important part of it. So all of this was based on science research that was implemented a few years ago, as I explained. And by that time, well, we faced many issues for implementing a sustainability agenda for a whole municipality. Some of those issues were the lack of a political strategy. There wasn't a particular concern in nature conservation or sustainable development. When we talked in terms of environmental policies, we were talking just about waste management, water, and sewage. So nature conservation, species conservation, biodiversity, quality of ecosystems was not an issue by that time. So the political strategy was lacking, and now it is completely the opposite. It is one of the biggest priorities. Also, even the public and the public officers were not aware of science, about the importance of scientific knowledge for managing a territory. In terms of biodiversity, forestry, water management, sustainable agriculture, everything has science on it. And now we listen to scientists, I was one of them, and the action plan is derived from science. And this is really important because we are implementing an evidence-based strategy in the municipality. And it's just not just because we wanted to or we imagined something. It took science and research to do what we are doing. Another issue was the lack of public awareness. Of course, if people are not sensitive to these aspects, they will never be concerned about it. So the environmental literacy was very low by that time. And also, and complementarily, the civic participation was close to zero. So people were not asked what they thought about their territory, what they thought about nature conservation. They even didn't know that was an issue by that time. Remember, this is a mostly rural community, so this wasn't on the top of their daily activities. And finally, there was the lack of an infrastructural network of buildings and climate resilient structures. That is to say that the buildings were not exploiting renewable energies, the technology was not exploited to the best of it. So also infrastructural actions were poorly designed for environmental action. And all of this is being changed for these last 4 or 5 years. So I organized the sustainability strategy for the municipality in 5 main axes, priorities of intervention. And these actions are scientific research, to be sure that everything we do is backed up by science and the best of the available knowledge by that time. Environmental education, that is to say that it's not just education for children or youth, but everyone, and in integrated environmental education in everything we do, like for instance organizing events, but making sure that they are zero plastic or zero waste events, giving the example and be inspirational in all the actions that the municipality takes. That is implementing environmental education in an integrative way. Also promoting social engagement. Ask the communities what they think, have them participating, have them help us deciding what is best for them, what works for them, also with the economical revenues and profits that can derive of that. Infrastructural actions like sustainable development through green engineering both for buildings and human infrastructure, but also for repairing natural infrastructures like the riverbanks. And finally, our internal sustainability is also very important because all of this takes resources. So we need an internal sustainability / financial management plan, because all of this takes permanent needs. We have permanent necessities of this and that, and resources and people to work on environmental stuff, but the funds are scarce. So we also need a strategic plan for getting the funding and the financial ways of doing everything. So now I will go. Well, I have these 5 topics and I will explore them in a bit of detail, each one of them. So about scientific research, everything started with knowing the territory. So the first topic there, natural heritage, was the first steps we take. By that time, we designed the monitoring scheme for fauna, flora, and habitats to know in detail where biodiversity was still living, what areas were more damaged, which ones needed restorations, which one needed immediate protection, and so on and so forth. Also regarding forest management, all the publicly owned forests shifted completely the way of being managed, because all forests were managed in a way kind of like a public garden, with no vegetation in the understory, in the lower tracts of the forest. And that was wrong. That does not promote biodiversity. I have a background in forestry for conservation, so all the publicly owned forests shifted their management model towards a more sustainable one, an eco-friendly one. And now we are encouraging the privately owned forests and the owners to do similarly. And I'll show you how. Also, landscape management, of course, restoration of damaged ecosystems, and using green engineering and science to bring back the natural essence of those places. So from the natural heritage inventory, something astonishing happened. These numbers are really, really high. They are comparable to some national parks we have, some nature reserves that we have, in terms of numbers. And this was really impressive because I told you that the Lousada territory is hugely human altered. But in some places, like mini Noah's arches, to make a comparison, we were able to find almost 400 plant species, almost 200 vertebrate species. The vertebrates are animals with bones, so fish, amphibian, reptiles, birds, and mammals. Of all of these numbers, 63 species are protected, both nationally and in terms of European law, and 28 of them are endemic species that can only be found here in Portugal or in the Iberian Peninsula. So these are impressive results that encouraged us to take the next steps to protect what was still good and to restore what was bad. So we decided on establishing a municipal network of protected areas. This larger area, you can see here, We are currently doing the folder to submit to the national authorities to create a bigger local protected area of about 1,400 hectares of protection. And as you can see, this area follows a river, which is the biggest river in the region, that is the River Sousa. So we are trying to implement the local protected area of the valley of River Sousa. This valley has fertile soils, has still traditional agricultural ways of doing things, and important both natural environment heritage, but also immaterial cultural heritage that we want to protect. And then scattered around the municipality, I hope you can see the arrow of my mouse, you can see some smaller protected areas, and these are micro reserves for nature conservation that we want to establish as well. These are all privately owned fields, so we are working in close partnership with these owners in order to establish this network of micro reserves. And they are micro, and you can see here a very, very, very small one, because sometimes it's just protecting one population of one particular species that only occurs in that place. For instance, we have mosses or ferns that only occur in a certain specific habitat. So for the protection of that particular species, we need to establish a micro reserve in a protocol of cooperation with the owner and with technical support to maintaining that reserve. Also, we did an inventory of all the big trees, all the trees with high ecological value. That is to say that all the trees that have a diameter of the trunk bigger than half a meter, 50 centimeters, were inventoried and characterized. We thought we would have like 500 trees like this, but actually we have more than 7,000 high ecological value trees. And when I said that we characterized it in terms of microhabitats present in the trees, the height of the foliage, the species, of course, the coordinates, the land use of the soil around the tree, and many ecological characteristics. This was done by a master student from the University of Lisbon that is currently working for us. So we identified more than 40 species of these green giants. The name of the project in Portuguese is Gigantes Verdes, so the translation would be green giants. This is very, very important because now we want to protect the more important trees. And why? Because daily it is common that people chop off the trees. They cut them down for wood, for whatever purposes, for fire, fuel, to heating, everything. But these trees are very important and they are more valuable than the money they can get from the wood or the fuel, the wooden fuel. So we want to enter the carbon market because these old trees are storing huge amounts of carbon that have a value, a price in terms of ecosystem services. So we want to enter that market so that we can provide support to the owners of these trees, not to cut them, but to preserve them. So always working with the community and seek for the benefits for all. I told you before that we are doing the restoration of watercourses. So you can see here in this picture to the right that the rivers are not okay. They were, well, the agricultural fields expanded to so largely that the riverbank is now very narrow and cannot support the big masses of water that come in the winter. So the river goes off the riverbank and causes damages to the agricultural fields and to people's houses because it is all damaged. So we are trying to do interventions in the rivers big like Sousa, but also in the smaller creeks. And we are using green engineering to doing this. many manual work, labor with volunteers, and also, of course, a big investment that we are requesting the government to apply here, because this kind of intervention is not done with volunteers. So these were some examples regarding the scientific research, and now I'll move on to the topic of environmental education. And here we have many actions going on. In fact, everything we are doing fits in the environmental education topic, because all these axes are are cross-sectoral and can be interchanged, but we try to organize it this way so that the agenda has a structure. So about environmental education, we have projects with schools, with families. We have events like the Municipal Biodiversity Day, and also we have a municipal reading plan. I will explain in further detail. So for schools, we have a project that is named Bioschool, and this provides an environmental education offer with many different classes. The classes are designed according to the governmental plans and objectives of each subject. And for each subject and school year, we have a set of activities that the teachers can request with no charge, for free. Our technicians go there, and instead of delivering a regular class, they deliver it in a more amazing or more enthusiastic way of delivering the class. Like, for instance, using VR technology, microscopes, or field trips. So the students love it because we do not do traditional classes, and also the teachers love it because they get to see different ways of teaching their subject. So this is a project with huge success. We are promoting more than well, actually, this year we already have 400 workshops done this school year. So it is probably this year more than 1,000 workshops or classes a year. We engaged with 300 teachers, and all of our students several times. So we have more than 16,000 participants a year. Also, we went further and further than just explaining things and providing interesting classes. We wanted schools to reduce their ecological footprint. That is to say that we encouraged all schools, public and private, to have savings in water, energy, and to increase their recycling rates of waste. So last year, we did a challenge. This is the word desafio, means challenge. So it was the Bioschool Challenge 360. So 360 degrees, because we wanted them to focus in all details of the ecological footprint. And we said that, well, if you reduce your water bills, your energy bills and consumption, and if you rise the number of waste you can recycle, the savings that represent that in terms of euro, in terms of money, we will give it back to the schools. So because we had the previous bills for the last 3 years, we compared the average of the last 3 years with this last year. And if they had savings, let's say a school saved 1,000 euro in water, so we would give them back that money, 1,000 euros, so that the school could use it in whatever way they wanted. Some schools did field trips with the students. Some schools bought books or equipment like computers or recycling bins or whatever. So in total, we reached up savings of 25,000 euros. That was divided for all our 36 schools that were engaged in this program. So 25,000 euros is not a fortune, but it's a lot for sometimes small schools with 20 students that cannot afford field trips or whatever, or sports equipment. So it was a huge success, and last school year was the test, the pilot program for this, and this year we are continuing it, and let's see the results we will achieve. Also, furthermore, we have this research program for young researchers. That is to say, we have a certain amount of money that we invest in sustainability projects that are proposed by the young researchers themselves. Any student, whatever age, until the master's degree from Portugal, can apply to this fund, and if it receives a good grade, they can receive a small amount of money, for instance, covering their university tuition fees, and they can do in Lousada a small research or social project. And with this, we already engaged 300 young local researchers. The number is so big because many of them participate as a group, and the group can have until 30 elements. So some schools encourage their classes to participate, to submit some projects. And the projects can be very different, like older students from the university wanting to map and to do cartography and maps about a certain topic and statistical analysis, and the younger children can have, for instance, a produce garden, a food garden in their school, and they manage it and they crop their own vegetables in it. So the topics are very different, but since it has a financial incentive, we get a lot of submissions to this fund. Oh, there are other things that I did not mention in the pictures, but I can tell you about this municipal reading plan. In the video, you saw several books appearing. In Portugal, we have a national reading plan. That is a set of books that the government recommends children and young people and adults to read, according to their age, of course. Well, in Lousada, we took a similar initiative and we created our own municipal reading plan. But we are not using the already existing books that refer somehow to national or to international realities. We created our own books. In the video, there was a green one, a green book with a long title, and that book was designed by us to teach preschool, kindergarten children about the animals, the wild animals, wildlife of Lousada specifically. So using lots of visual elements, we have a very good book on the animals for children that cannot read, and so on and so forth. For the first grade, we have a different book telling stories about the rivers of Lousada, and so on. And for the secondary grade, we have a book about science in everyday life. So we create our own municipal reading plan with books created by our own, focusing on the local reality and not realities that the students are not familiar with. And these books are delivered for free in the scholar years. Each year we deliver as an offer the gift. We deliver the books and we teach the teachers, we train the teachers on how to exploit the book throughout their classes and how to make the best pedagogical use of it. So the books are also pedagogical tools and not just entertainment books, but also they are funny and they can just be for leisure, of course. Well, next topic. Now I will tell you a bit about our social engagement. So how we promote activities with the community and how we engage the community in all of this. So since the community projects and environmental volunteering, and also, and most importantly, the training. Sometimes citizens participate individually, but many times they participate organized in NGOs, associations, or other types of civic groups like sports clubs or I don't know, fitness groups or firefighters groups and so on. So we train them with particular projects that provide them proper training in green and social entrepreneurship, because these people are community leaders and they can do a huge difference in their huge difference and be true influencers in their community. So we provide them the proper tools to make their lives easy as community leaders or as NGO leaders. So we promote civic action and associative leadership training through several European projects. In this particular topic, this NG Europe project is the most focused one in the associative well, civic movements training, because the name is really NGO, but instead of the O we used Europe, NG Europe, and we have an international cooperation project to train these community leaders to deliver proper and organized civic action. Also, we receive lots of volunteers, not just from Lousada, not just from Portugal, but international volunteers that come from all around the world to receive technical training on ecological restoration, monitoring of biodiversity, control of invasive species, and so on. So we already received 5 of these international work camps with the support of our National Institute for Youth Exchange. So we already received youth from China, Russia, Mexico, Brazil, Turkey, Algeria, all around Europe. So from all around the world, these young people come in their holidays in the summer. You see, it's almost always in early September, while the young student, the youth are still on vacations. And they come and spend 2 weeks with us, learning and having fun and knowing our culture. So this is also a very effective way of having some tasks done, tasks that require manual labor and also proper techniques. So we have the time to teach these young people to do it in Lousada, and afterwards they can do it in their own realities and countries. I think maybe the biggest community project we have is called Plantar Lousada, which literally translates as planting Lousada. In this project, we do plantations, as you saw in the video, and with all kinds of target audiences. In this picture, you have scouts. You see those scouts uniforms, but also we receive companies, private companies, enterprises, NGOs, individual citizens, schools, you name it, whatever groups, they participate with us in planting. For now, more than 4,500 volunteers helped us plant Lousada, and since 2016 we already planted over 40,000 trees. Native trees strategically chosen to restore some of our mountains, forests, and to do green engineering. So this is a huge, huge effort, and the numbers are quite impressive. And all people are participating and are being taught about ecological restoration and the importance of having the right plants, the right species being planted in their territory. Also with this, we are promoting carbon storage, of course. We are fighting climate change with all these trees on the field, and we are engaging community. Furthermore, people that do want to plant in their private fields, they can do it, and we offer for free the trees. We offer like 500 trees to this person or 1,000 trees to that person. We provide technical assistance, and we monitor their plantations to see if everything is growing okay. And even after the forest fires that we have in Portugal in 2017, we offered trees to those communities in southern and central Portugal, so they could also restore their own territories. So plants and trees is our is our flagship, and we offer trees to everyone. Some of these trees are we get them from a partnership with the governmental nursery plants, but others are produced in our own nursery And these nurseries are also managed with the help of volunteers. And now we are starting a new project with the elderly, with third age citizens, in an active aging program, and they will help us also to manage the nursery for us to grow all these plants that can be planted in the territory. As I told you, we have another project on river restoration. We do it technically with professional teams, but also with volunteers. This is a picture of one of those international groups I was telling you before, for the international work camps. And one detail, you see that all people have T-shirts with animals. Well, these T-shirts were drawn by us. They are scientific illustrations of the wildlife we have in Lousada. And every time a person becomes a volunteer, they receive a kit. And in this kit, the T-shirt is included so that they can feel part of something, part of a group. It's something that when we print the T-shirts in big quantities, they are actually quite cheap, but it's something that works as a symbol of being part of something, and it promotes community pride and the will to do more. It's just a simple T-shirt, but it's a strong symbol. Of course, this group of volunteers were here with us for 15 days, so they had to change, and not all of them are wearing the T-shirts. Well, this Guarda Rios project means keeping the rivers, maybe something like that, or river vigilance. It's not just about technical work of restoring the rivers and removing garbage from the river, but it is also about having bits of the river adopted by local citizens and to be their protectors and vigilants. If something is wrong with the river, for instance, if someone throw in garbage or if there is a spillage of something, that vigilant that adopted the bit of the river will call us, and they are like the patrols and the police of that part of the river. So currently we already involved over 700. This is not updated. We involved 700 volunteers, both as patrols and as volunteers participating in the cleaning and restoration of the rivers. All right, I'm moving further on to the infrastructural actions. This is the fourth axis of our sustainability agenda. And here we are focusing on wastewater and water networks efficiency, energy efficiency and renewable energies, sustainable mobility, and waste management. So about the water resources, we want to improve the quality of water supply, of the water that is supplied, and about the system of water transportation. So some of the transportation systems were updated, were very old, like 40 or 50 years old. So we are replacing these transportation systems, the sewage system also, to be more effective, and so that we lose less potable water in the process. With this, we actually invest in the restoration of the transportation system of the water, but we save in the conducts that are now not broken or spoiled, and we save a lot of water, and also in the water bill from the water supplying company. We also now are encouraging children not to buy bottled water, but to use tap water instead. And for that, we offered reusable aluminum cans or bottles to all children in the schools, and they are saving lots of plastics. For you to have a notion, the volume of the bottles that yearly was sold at the school cafeteria was equivalent to 8 buses. You know, the collective transportation means 8 buses of plastic are now shut off, and we are encouraging children and teachers to drink tap water. About if energy. Well, Lousada is and was and is currently still the first municipality in Portugal to have the public lighting and street lighting 100% LED technology. All the lights, light bulbs and systems of the buildings were replaced by LED lamps, and this led us to save up to almost 1 million euro a year. In a small municipality like this, it makes a huge difference. Of course, this had costs, and the investment is repaid in 3 years of savings. And after the 3 years, these are gross network savings that we can apply in all the rest of what I'm explaining to you. So this is a very, very smart move. Of course, it is an investment, but it's easily repaid. And also environmentally, it is very, very efficient. And we saved 2,000 tons of carbon emissions each year. Well, also, we are renewing the municipality's car fleets. Well, the set of the cars of the municipality for electric cars, and this also represents savings in fuels, and we are buying and replacing the existing diesel cars as possible as we get funding for it. About waste management, we have a very important and pioneer project, not just in Portugal, but to my understanding, in Europe. I have never seen a project like this anywhere else. And actually, this was the idea of the waste engineer officer that works at the municipality, and it's actually an excellent project. Well, most of you should know the pilot initiatives that are taking place across Europe that is named Pay As You Throw. That is to say that people pay the waste management taxes according to the waste they produce. In this case, it is the opposite. It is kind of a receive as you throw. If people hand us their waste, the recyclable waste, in our eco center, which is a place, a facility where people can hand in their trash, their recyclable trash to us. We weigh that trash. We have a price for each kilogram of trash, and we pay them back for that trash. We don't give them actual money, but we discount in their in the taxes they pay for waste management and waste treatment. So this tax is about 8 to 10 euros each month for a normal regular family, and people are saving those 8 to 10 euros each month if they deliver their trash, their recyclables waste to us directly. Well, that means that also we save money in the transportation of that waste, because they hand it in to us directly at the eco center, which is a waste sorting facility. So with the money we save in the transportation of the public street containers to this facility, we save money in the transportation, and it gives us enough room to pay the people with this discount in the taxes. So actually, it's a very sustainable process, and it's called lixo sustentável, which means sustainable waste. And since that waste that people hand in to us does not go to landfill, we also save in the occupation rates of the landfill, and we save in the carbon emissions that accompany that occupation of the landfill. So I hope I'm being clear here. This is quite well, it's quite easy, but it's difficult to explain if you don't know the local reality. So we are recycling more, getting more waste reused and treated for transformation in raw materials. We save carbon emissions and we save money. So it's a very intelligent process. And with this, we also were invited to integrate this Interreg European project to share good practice on waste management across Europe. About sustainable mobility, we are working in different aspects of this. So we are installing electric charging stations to encourage people to have electric cars. We have a bike sharing system. Well, people can use a bike for free for a certain amount of time, and these are electrical bicycles, so they can go uphill with them with no problem. Also, we are installing new cycling and pedestrian circuits. We are trying to also replace the bus fleets, the bus fleet to more effective bus fuel or no fuel at all with electric buses. And with all of this, we are also saving a lot of money. So about financial management, and this is quite, well, many colleagues and stakeholders ask us, how is it possible to do all of this if you are not rich, let's say it this way? Well, actually, it's kind of a financial engineering process. This internal sustainability is very important for us, and of course, we cannot create financial damage or prejudice to the municipality with all of this. So we use lots of European fundings and national available fundings to all of this. And we want to do more with less resources, of course, increasing efficiency, but also having all these fund savings documented, like we save in the electrical bills, we save in the water bills and everything. We have room for investment, and this investment is mostly on people. And for you to know, we are the only municipality I know about that has now 10 biologists working for them. 10 biologists is a lot. Normally, the municipalities have 0, and if we are lucky enough, they have 1 biologist or someone related to the environment working in the field and having people engaged in this kind of activities. So now we have 10, and even if we had more, we had work for them. So financial management, less is more, less waste, more renewable energies, more technology saving energy and water, generate savings that generate more income and more sustainability in our internal processes, in our financial management. Doing more brings opportunities. Let's say we can do policy enforcement or implementation of different innovative policies for sound financial management, but also for a sound environment and life quality for our citizens. So creating opportunities brings challenges, because if you want to fix something, you will get to know in detail what is wrong. And this leads us to create new priorities regarding local investment, environmental policies, and strategical actions, because we cannot tackle all the problems at once. So we must prioritize and be strategic. So the opportunities bring those challenges. But when the challenges are overcome, that results in huge achievements. And all of what I said to you, I think it's a great achievement in a relatively short amount of time. We are talking about a complete revolution in a public management system, in local governance in just a period of 4 or 5 years. That's huge. So this is quite an achievement. We're having everyone involved and engaged in this. And so with this comes public recognition and also public support, both from our citizens and also from the governmental institutions that see that we are not messing around, we are not kidding, we take this very seriously, and so hopefully they will approve more funding for us. And we use lots of fundings, everything that is available from Interreg, Erasmus projects, Europe for Citizens, Creative Europe. We applied for Horizon 2020, but were not successful. We also applied for a live project, but were not successful. And many times we're not successful in our funding applications, but it's normal. So we keep on trying. But actually the European project and national projects are a very encouraging way of doing all of this. After all this, finally, we got some recognition from abroad. And as Eva said at the beginning, we were elected the transformative action of 2019 by the European Committee of the Regions and ICLEI, which is a congregation of several environmental smart cities. So this is quite an honor, and throughout 2020 we will use this flagship to promote also territorial pride and more community engagement. After this award, the second one came in, this International Ideal Kent Award from the institution of what's the name? Institution of Urban Studies, that also recognized that we were doing a tremendous job in shifting towards a more sustainable community and land planning. And this award was handed in at the UNESCO headquarters in Paris. So the video I showed you at the beginning was about our Municipal Year of Environment and Biodiversity 2017, and this year we have Lousada 2020, the Municipal Year for Climate Action. Ação climática means climate action. So furthermore, we are doing new initiatives and continuing these successful ones so that we can promote sustainability at the three components of it: better environment, better life quality and social opportunities for all, and also steady and smart economical growth. So I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I hope to have spoken clearly and you could follow my communication. If you have any questions or requests, please be free to contact us by this email, which is my own. And also, I think the chat room is now open for any questions that might arise. And I will pass on to the colleagues from ALDA. Thank you all.
Very much to Milene Matos for the very interesting presentation. It has been a very inspiring and very interesting project, the one you carried out in Lousada. Well, my name is Lavinia. I am working in the project management, in the project development office at ALDA, and I will briefly give you an introduction on some European and non-European funds that you can apply for to get some funding for your project in the environmental yes, addressing environmental topics. Okay. Thank you. So I will share my screen. Okay. So as also Milene mentioned at the end of her presentation, there are several programs that can be at European and not European level that are tackling topics of environment. And here you have a brief overview. And so there are some specific programs that are the LIFE program and the Horizon 2020, but also some other that are not really specific for environmental aspects, but where environment can be used as a background, as as a transversal topic for other projects. And these are the Euro for Citizen program and Erasmus+. But go deeply in all the programs. The LIFE program is, of course, the European program specifically dedicated to support environmental, nature and climate action. And he has been created in 1992. And for the moment, for the period 2014-2020, has at its disposal 3.4 billion euros. The general objective of the fund is to contribute to the implementation, updating and development of EU environmental and climate policy and legislation by co-funding projects with an European added value. The program is divided in two sub-programs. One is the environment and the second one is climate action. And each sub-program has three different priority areas. For the sub-program of environment, they are nature and biodiversity, environmental and resource efficiency, environmental governance and information. While for the sub-program of climate action, we have climate action mitigation, adaptation, and climate change governance and information. The first and second are specific priorities, and in case of environment, the fund is funding activities, supporting actions aiming to demonstrate or develop new policies or new management approaches, which aim at introducing innovative ideas and on recycling, on resource efficiency, or new tools to improve the link between environment and health and lifestyle. Actions can be pilot actions, so new activities that are going to be implemented for the first time, or demonstrative activities, so maybe some practical activities that are the end or are needed to put in practice what have been studied or researched. While the third priority is supporting actions of information, awareness raising campaigns in order to promote the consciousness of citizens on environmental and climate matters. So it's more a political and a more political action, a more informative one. And the goal is actually to include also local authority and decision makers in the projects in order to have some effects and some results also in terms of governance, of changing of policies. The application for the LIFE program is a bit challenging and also is a bit complex, not only in terms of content, because of course it requires a deep knowledge of the thematic, and the application requires a very technical skills and a very technical experience. And also it's a bit complex in the sense of the co-funding, because it requires a co-funding of it goes from 25% to 40%. So it's not really a fund accessible for a little organization or little NGOs, but more for municipalities or research institutes or enterprises maybe. The important things of this program is that the project doesn't need to be transnational, because of course there are some environmental issues or climate issues that are very local and very regional. So you can build up a partnership also among institution, organization of the same areas. An example is well, ALDA is involved in a project called Be Aware, which aims at creating knowledge, benefit, and real implementation of the natural water retention mission. And this project is focused in the area of Vicenza, because Actually, it's a program that is typical of this area. So the project is addressing the problematic of this geographical area. Also, another interesting program whose founding environmental project is the Horizon 2020, which is the program for research and innovation. It's a very huge program, and environment and climate action play a fundamental role in the Horizon 2020. In fact, their initial objective was to allocate the 35% of the funds to climate action. And one of the 5 priorities of the program is dedicated to environment, including topics such as increasing energy efficiency through investment in renewable energy, or circular economy, or development of sustainable agri-food systems. The new work program of 2018-2020 has introduced a social challenge number 5, addressing climate action, environment, resource efficiency, and raw materials. And so the aim of this social challenge is to demonstrate a strong commitment to support the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and also to achieve the targets of the COP21 Paris Agreement. The work program is therefore structured around 2 goals. The first one is building a low carbon climate resilient future. So the support is to activities addressing climate action in order to deal with the Paris Agreement where governments agreed to limit global temperature rise to well below 2 degrees, and also to make efforts to limit these to 1.5 degrees. And the amount of money of budget allocated for this first priority area is of 132 million for the 2020. And another interesting area is the connecting economic and environmental gains, and so to promote a circular economy. The call encompasses 10 new topics on plastic, with a total budget of 135 million in 2020, and contribute. The idea is to contribute in different ways to the EU plastics strategy. Also, within this focus area, the program fosters the development of innovative production system and business models for resource efficiency and waste management. The Horizon 2020 also is a very competitive program, and you can get funds for millions of euros, and lasting for projects during from 2 to 5 years. According to the needs of the projects, and but in this case, of course, it's necessary to build up a transnational partnership, and also to involve both university and institutes and enterprise, NGOs, or other associations working directly in the field, because there's the new exigency of the Horizon program is to not only involve the research, so the entities working in the research, but also to involve organizations that could be able to put in practice what has been studied during the beginning of the project. As I mentioned before, environment can be also, and sustainability can be also some transversal topics. So they can be used as frame for other projects to be submitted to other funds, and so these are a bit more easier than the other funds that I presented before, and a bit and more accessible for any kind of organization, and is Erasmus Plus program and the Euro for Citizens. Considering Erasmus, an idea can be also to organize some experience of mobility among youth that tackle the thematic of recycling, of sustainable urban mobility, of the taking care of the green in their cities. So there are a lot of possibility to organize youth exchanges or any kind of experience for youth, and not only in the addressing the thematic of the environment. And also Erasmus can be you can use also the measure VET, so vocational educational training, for the creation of new works, let's say, new kind of employment, which have some link with the environmental sector. I can make you two examples. An example of a project where 5 partners are trying to create a new figure for the forestry operator, in order to be recognized at European level, and this has something to do with the forestry and environment. And also another nice project is the one of the creation of the gardenizer, so organizer of the urban gardens in the cities. So you can really be creative and can try with like new ideas to insert some environment in also this program. And also in terms of Euro for Citizen, there can be some network of towns or some town twinnings among cities who are very interested in some environmental or sustainable topics. In general, just a brief overview of the strategy that Europe is addressing to sustainability and environment. The EU is getting more and more sustainable and is giving great importance to the environment and the promotion of a sustainable lifestyle. The European Union endorses the sustainability agenda of the UN with its 17 Sustainable Development Goals. In the specific, the 13th, 14th, and 15th are tackling topics related to the climate, to the life below, and the water. So the new SDGs are determined are essential to allow the European Union to protect the planet from degradation, and it will be pursued through a sustainable consumption and production strategy, and also trying to manage natural resources in a more sustainable way. 2 important strategies adopted by the UA is the biodiversity strategy, which include the period 2010-2020, and has established 6 targets and 20 actions to counter the loss of biodiversity, and it will be renewed for 2030. And also the European Green Deal, that is the new strategy that bears the signature of the new president of the European Commission, and is a new strategy adopted for the next 30 years, entirely focused on fight against climate change, with the purpose of rethink the policies for clean energy supply across all economic sectors. Here in the presentation, you have the link. If you click on the name of the strategy, you have the link, so you can read about it and get some information on the where Europe is going in terms of sustainability and protection of the environment. So, looking at outside Europe, there are also the United Nations, who are always promoting a clean and new environment, and also have environmental focus in a lot of their programs. An example, a very fresh news, is that the United Nations Environmental Programme has just allocated 20 million by launching the Global Fund for Ecosystem-Based Adaptation 2024. And the aim is to provide a targeted and rapid support mechanism through seed capital for innovative approaches to ecosystem-based adaptation. Actually, this new fund refers to a set of approaches that involve the management of ecosystems to reduce the vulnerability of human communities to climate change. So, for example, coral reefs, to protect the coastal areas. So it's a very interesting tools that have just been approved and allocated. And here in the link, you can find some more information. Also, here we have a brief overview of other programs, not EU, but are private foundation or other funds that are tackling environmental issues. So there is the Patagonia Fund supporting innovative work that addresses the root causes of the environmental crisis and seek to protect both the environment and the affected communities. And it's an under-accessible fund. Also, a very interesting one is the Raja Foundation, who promotes the role of women in environmental protection and the fight against climate change, including the promotion of sustainable agricultural practices. So they focus specifically on women and the contribute they can give in fighting climate change. And there is the King Bonding Foundation, which promotes the development of a circular economy and investing in protecting our environment. And also the Italian Chiesa Valdese, with its 8 per 1000, they fund programs, projects both in Italy and abroad, which focus is to protect the environment. So the objective also in this case is to contribute to fight climate change through awareness-raising activities and to protect also biodiversity, combat desertification. For this fund, it's very important in the application to explain which kind of punctual and effective actions are you going to implement in your project. So it's very important to give the idea of the strong impact that you have on the community. This was just a brief overview of the huge quantity of funds that can be used to fund project tackling environmental sustainable activities. And this was just an idea to understand where you have to look for and where you can find some information of the funds you can get for your project. But if you have any kind of questions or clarification, here there is. Oh, sorry, there's the last, the last slide. Actually, this slide was to just to give an idea budget that the European Union is going to allocate to the natural resources and environment, which is 1.7 times more of the one for 2014-2020. So the Europe is trying to invest to invert more resources on environmental topics and issues. And so it's a good news for those who are working in the field. This time is really finished. If you have any question and if you need some clarification or some other information, you can write to me. This is my email.
I think we already have a question for Milene. Could you tell us about the main challenge you met while developing all of these actions and how you overcame it?
Sure. Uh, Actually, the main challenge was internal. For instance, I'll give you an example. The first plantation I organized, I asked for 400 plants, 400 trees to be planted. And well, the employees of the services came in with a truck with 40 plants. And I said, well, but what's happening here? I asked for 400. And they said, well, typically we don't plant more than 40 or 20 even. Yeah, and I said, yes, but I have a group here of 30 volunteers. So what do they do with 40 plants? It's just one plant for each one. So they were not used to. What they were used to in plantations, for instance, was to plant with a class of students, of children. And it was quite a challenge to explain that everything from that moment on would be different. And for that, we could have given up. That was one choice, or yelled at the guys from the public services. But instead, what we did was to engage them. We showed them what we were doing. I asked them to unload the 40 plants. And while we were planting those 40 plants, they went back to the nursery and came with another 350 plants. And in that morning, they saw that we actually planted the 400 species, the 400 plants. And this is an example to explain how we engaged. We asked the employee to participate, to come and see what we do, hear the explanations, because sometimes these people that are not in how to say, they are not bosses, they are just the lowest, don't take me wrong, employee in the command of the chain of command, and they were not heard, or they were not engaged in the activities. They just followed orders. So we did it differently. We explained them, taught them, and sometimes now they even get to participate in the decision process. And they say, oh, probably it's better not to plant in that place, but there, and using that tool and not this one. So this was a huge challenge, the internal education, because all of this was new to all the people working at the city council. Nothing of this ever happened. They never engaged anyone. They never had big groups of volunteers. So this was the main challenge, to educate internally. But finally, and now they all participate and they are all happy, and I think they are more satisfied that they get to participate and to learn new things in their daily jobs.
Marta, do you want to ask a question to Milene?
Yes, yes. Well, thank you to both of you for the presentations, and thank you, Milene, for your amazing and very inspiring presentation, and congratulations for the achievement. I was wondering specifically whether the private sector is involved in some of the initiatives that you are carried out, if the local private sector is committed somehow through some kind of a financial support or sponsorship.
Okay, thank you for your words and your question. Well, the private sector is involved, but not in the form of sponsorship or financial support, but in logistics support. I didn't tell you, but this rural landscape has a lot of heritage gardens, heritage farms that in the past were quite active and employed dozens of people in the agricultural labor. And these big houses, like the manor houses of heritage farms, have nowadays romantic gardens, heritage gardens, and still their farms are places of big value in terms of biodiversity and ecosystem preservation. So many of these micro reserves are happening in these privately owned, private sector farms that currently are producing wine or fruit or they have local rural tourism companies. So they work with us, facilitating access to these fields and letting us manage them for biodiversity conservation purposes. They don't actually sponsor us with money, but they authorize us to do good things in their privately owned fields. Also, companies help us in, for instance, with groups of volunteers. The company I told you, that water bottles, aluminum water bottles that we are offering the students came from a company. Well, they didn't pay for the bottles, but they did a big discount that allowed us to buy bottles to each student of the municipality. So yes, the private sector is involved, not sponsoring with money, but facilitating with their means, authorizations, and active participation through volunteering. So I hope I answered. This may seem like a small contribution, but actually it is not, because most of the territory is privately owned. So just having the authorization and collaboration protocols to do nature conservation in private areas, it is a huge thing. So I hope I answered.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you.
I think no one has more questions, has any other question. So I would like to thank you for your attendance. I hope it was a useful presentation, and I'm sure it was. And I remind you that we are planning other webinars for the month of February. We will keep you updated on that. Many thanks again for the attention, and have a nice day. Thank you to the presenters too, to Lavinia and Milene.